Sorry, I got interrupted by a phone call. It cut the last video off, but let me pick up. So let's talk about outliers. Why do we care about them? Well, here we have a set of percentages. So let's say this is math test scores. And I have students who got a 92, a 90, an 85, 98, 59, 89. Now, if I took the average of that, with the 59 in there, that 59 is really going to drag down the class average. In fact, that'll probably bring the class average like below an 80, maybe into the 70s. And as a teacher, if I use that type of information. If I had a whole class average, down in the 70s, then I know I need to reteach. I know I need to teach those lessons again because clearly, as a whole, we didn't do that well and we didn't understand it. But in this case, if I had these grades that were in the upper 80s and 90s, and then I had one failing grade that really drags that average down, I'm going to take that into consideration. Instead of reteaching to all of these kids, because the rest of the kids clearly understood it, I'm just going to reteach to this one outlier. I'm going to notify or identify and say, hey, okay, I noticed that this one student didn't do so well, but everybody else did. I would actually take that score out of the equation. I'd find the average, and this average would actually be, if this score wasn't there, this average would be up in the 90s. Which is a much better reflection of, in general, how everybody did. So again, this is an outlier because it's significantly lower than the rest of the scores. So let's go ahead and do some examples of range, quartiles, and identifying outliers. So the first thing we need to do, range is pretty easy, and we'll do that in a moment, but let's go ahead and order our data and start doing the quartiles first. So I've got 21, 40, 52, 58, 72, 75, 96. All right, so I just ordered from least to greatest. I still have all of those numbers. First thing I'm going to do, I want to go ahead and split this up into 4 equal groups. So literally I'm creating quarters because I'm doing quartiles, quarters. So let's work our way in, crossing these out. So this is my median. Okay, so that's my second quartile. Now I'm going to look at the first half of data and that second half of data. That's right in the middle of the first half, so that's Q1. This is in the middle of the second half of data, so this is Q3. So this is really technically Q2. All right, so I've identified my quartiles. My interquartile range is going to be Q3 minus Q1, which is 75 minus 40, which is 35. So my interquartile range is 35. My range is going to be the biggest number minus the smallest. So 96 minus 21, which is what, 75. And I would say an outlier would probably be 21. Because everything else is pretty big, but 21 is seeming like pretty darn low compared to everybody else. Like if we were selling these, we are sold. Whoever did just 21 kind of seems like a slacker a little bit. So I would say an outlier would be 21. Now, do we always have outliers? No, not necessarily. All right, I'm going to do one more example with you, and then I want you to try the last 2 on your own. All right, so let's go ahead and let's figure out the quartiles first. So let's order all of this from least to greatest. So we got 4, 15, 17, 18, 20, 21, 23, 56. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut all of this data in half. So boom, 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 boom. So I've got 2 here. I need to find the average of that. What's halfway between 18 and 20? 19. So 19 is going to be that second quartile or the median. So now this is my first half of data. Notice the 18 is not the median. So this 18 is considered in the first half of data, and the 20 is considered in the second half. So now I do this again. I have 2 in the middle yet again because I crossed these out. Boom, boom. And I have these 2. What's halfway between 15 and 17? 16. So that's our first quartile. I'm going to cross these out. I get these 2 here. 22 is directly in between there, so that's my third quartile. So my IQR is going to be 22 minus 16, which is 6. My range is going to be my biggest minus my smallest, which is 56 minus 4, which is 52. And outliers, it seems like 56 is pretty big compared to the rest of this. I mean, 56 is, let's see, 33 units away from the next biggest piece of data. 4 you might be thinking is an outlier, but 4 is not that far from 17. It's 13 units away, whereas the 56 is 33 text messages away, because we're talking about text messages. So I actually would say that the 56 would be the outlier. All right, so what I want you to do in class right now, what I want you to do is go ahead and find the interquartile ranges, the quartiles, the range, as well as outliers.